Hello, welcome to the Uniformer. I'm Rick Levine, Executive Director of the NAUMD, here with my adored columnists, who I will let them introduce themselves. Aileen.
Yes, my name is Aileen Out. I'm from the Netherlands. I write a weekly column, Aileen's Uniform Atlas, for the NUMD. And I have a Dutch website, PrettyBusiness.nl and PrettyBusinessWorld.com, about uniforms and workwear all around the world.
Excellent. Leslie.
So I'm Leslie McArdle. I also a columnist at the NAUMD, Uniform Chronicles. Exciting things, but I work in the industry, for a very long time, and most recently I'm at a company called Fabian Group as the director of merchandising and planning.
Hooray! So the format, if this is the first time you're tuning into our Uniformer news, is we each bring two news items or topics for the group to chat about, and we do not know the topics that each other have. So we are getting some spontaneous joy or frustration, depending on the topic. Hey, Leslie, do you want to kick us off this episode?
Well, I'm going to do a fun one to start, and then my second article, when it's my turn again, will be more,
Okay.
Not serious, but so anyway, so a fun article, and I'm not, that I happen to have written. And the reason I'm talking about it is it does have a link to the uniform industry. And so I would like to talk about it. So it's called Formalwear, which a company I happen to work for right now does do business in that area. And we recently had a day, Formalwear Day. Who knew? There was a day dedicated. But what I really love to talk about, and I'd love everyone's insight, is in my mind, in how I, when I wrote the article, it really was about how these things, when you think of formal wear, think of like tuxedos, high-end suiting, things like that. My mind goes to hospitality, goes to the uniform industry. So celebrating a day, when you think of formal wear, you think of, educated, organized, just really put together when you put on that suit or tuxedo. And to me, that's a reflection of uniforms, because when you put your uniform on to go through your day, you're, getting ready, and you have a sign of respect and things like that of what you do for a living. So I kind of combined them, and I really love everybody's insight, because I just feel like the two do mesh together. When you think of formal wear, it's celebrating a banquet or a wedding, or, unfortunate in circumstances that you have to dress up. But it also is part of uniforms. When you go into certain industries, you do have to dress accordingly. So that's kind of my topic, a little bit of, bridging the gap. I know, don't I? I think
No, it is interesting to think about formal wear. A few things are coming to my mind as you're talking about it. One was, it wasn't my very first job, but the summer between high school and college, I worked at a fancy restaurant in Chicago called the Pump Room. Those from the Midwest will remember the Pump Room, and it was, very, it was in a hotel, a fancy hotel right on the Gold Coast of Chicago, and we had to wear the equivalent of a tux. Like it was a poor, version, but it was a tuxedo, and there was no decoration, which is interesting, right? Because I had also had a job before that at a fast food restaurant where, of course, we wore, branded apparel for, it was Long John Silver's, right?
Goodness, yes.
I think they're still around. But then I got this job as a busboy for the summer, and we had to wear formal wear. And then juxtaposed to literally last weekend, I was at a black tie wedding, right? And I was like, am I supposed to rent a tux? Am I supposed to rent a tux? And the woman, who was the mother of the groom was like, it's up to you, whatever. I was like, I have a black suit, I'll wear a bow tie. And that's what I did, right? But everyone was in tuxes. There was only one or two men that, kind of disobeyed the rules like me. So two very different experiences for me with formal wear. But I love when a restaurant upscales the apparel like that. It is creates an atmosphere that is quite different. I remember it when working at the pump room. It's not like the guests were all wearing tuxedos, right? But there's a expectation that, things will go well, up until I poured the hot coffee on this fancy woman's shoulder, and that was not good. But
that does happen. It does. It just, to me, was about dignity, and that's how you feel when you put on a uniform. You're just, there's just a level of feeling good when you put things like that on. So I was just kind of combining.
It holds a unique place in the uniform industry, right?
It does.
And Aileen writes so much about airlines. I'll be interested in her perspective, because airlines tend to use a higher class of image, garment. Right? Of garment. Yeah. They're not putting on an apron and serving you coffee in the aisle, right? They're putting on blazers and skirts,
Well,
that's
I think
good translation to.
When you're talking about formal wear, this whole world of formal wear is getting smaller and smaller these days.
It is.
And that's the same in the airline. I mean, I can see it when I'm making videos about new uniforms in the airline industry, that I'm making those videos 3 times a week. And let's say it's becoming normal that an airline, when they're launching a new uniform, it has more like a casual style, and sneakers are becoming also the norm.
Yes,
they really are, with suits too.
And sneakers like 2 or 3 times in the past 2 months. It's crazy.
And from what I've seen is that the people who are watching it are often working in those airline industries, and they always say how much they appreciate it. So I think there's a very small audience that really thinks you need to look formal or wear formal clothes. I think the casual style is just worldwide, but now also in the airline industry. And I think that if you're an airline now and you want to release a new uniform in a formal style, I think you should pick really a kind of, let's say, high class airline or some kind of customers. It's not normal anymore. It's not like, people are getting used to more casual style.
They are, but that's an opportunity in some ways for some organizations, hospitality especially, to differentiate themselves, is to go back to a formal. But like you're saying, Aileen, now you're the outlier, and so that's interesting. Look at how they're dressed, right? It's like
Funny thing is that every airline thinks they're unique.
Yeah.
And they say, at our place you can wear sneakers. And I'm thinking like, it's not. It's just strange if you're launching a uniform now and it's not with sneakers. That's strange. So, but when you're talking about hospitality, I know that there's been a research, and it appears to be, if you're wearing, let's say, more formal clothes at a restaurant, people giving higher tips, but also expect more of, let's say, the toilets are looking good and fancy and clean. And they're expecting more of the food, of the people. So of course. I mean, a lot of times people say, "Oh, the outside isn't important." Well, it is.
It is.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Great insight. Thank you,
Aileen. What do you got for us?
Yes. Well, we had to talk about it yesterday. That this month I wrote an article about the history of PPE in the healthcare industry. And I think this was so interesting. I wrote this article for my own website, but it was so interesting. And there's one thing I want to talk about, and that is the, let's say, bird mask. Do you know the bird mask?
From the flag. Yeah, I saw that image flash by in your article.
With the big note. Yes. It's scary.
And why did they wear that? Why did they wear this giant mask?
so interesting. Yeah, I was wondering if you know, Rick or Leslie, why they were wearing that. No?
Well, I
Well,
think I once heard it was because they felt like then the bad air was far away from them. Like,
Well, it's kind of. It was, let's say, this was the first time in history that people were wearing masks to protect themselves from toxic air and environment. What they did is that they make this mask with a big, and I was looking for the word, the bird mask. The how do you call this?
elongated.
How do you call this? The mouth of a bird in English.
Beak.
oh, the beak.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was made of leather, so it has to be really, stiff. And what they did is that at the end of the beak,
Yep.
they put some lavender and vinegar in it,
Oh.
because they thought that if that will, let's say, purify the toxic air. That
Oh,
was
wow.
what they thought. And this is what, let's say, doctors were wearing, or people from other medical jobs, but most of the time doctors. They also at the time were wearing a stick or a staff, where they can point to patients without touching them. So they had no idea how protection works, but they thought we just put some lavender and vinegar in a mask and that will purify.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
That
thought
is
that was
so
very
interesting.
It is. And then you compare it to like the modern version where, I mean, and then the modern version has filters that are made from chemicals as well. They're not based on smell, right? But it's interesting that then it evolved into, well, now we have these barriers that are made of chemicals and we have these treatments, right? So they might go inside the fiber, they might go on top of the fabric, but then there's all these treatments that help you from a medical, security, safety standpoint. But
if you think about it, that you were wearing that kind of mask and you're breathing the whole time this lavender vinegar, I think it must be really bad for your health, I think.
well, yeah, breathing vinegar might have been burning their lungs.
That and you have this mask that is constantly on your face. So
Wild.
it's really fascinating. It's really
and terrifying. It's a very terrifying look.
And for the people who are listening, if you are Googling plague mask or bird mask, you can see what it looks like, and it's very interesting.
Have you had to design much in healthcare, Leslie, over the years?
You know what? Healthcare is one of the industries that I've not had to design or anything. I work with designers on.
Yeah.
Usually partnering with brands has been my experience. But so that's one of the areas in my career that I
Haven't done manufacturing. Yeah. And there's just, I mean, thousands of scrub. It feels like there's thousands of scrub manufacturers on the planet, right? So
another reason as well, the competition is intense and it's I feel very brand oriented. From my perspective,
in the U.S.,
it has a fashion, yes.
In
and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's the same in Europe.
Are scrubs in Europe bought very much based on like I'm brand loyal to this particular scrub?
You're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking if in Europe,
From Europe. Well, it's hard to say. We have in the Netherlands some companies who are famous for this.
Yeah.
But I know, as you said, the competition is like very, very hard. And I know that during the pandemic in China, they even organized a fashion show for medical stuff and scrubs, which was at some point ironic because
it is
But it's very very interesting, and I have to say that I wrote about this before, that hospitals are choosing to wear different colors. I think that colors maybe are one of the few things you can change because of hygiene and that kind of things, and you need to wash them. So yeah, it's just like high-vis clothes, it's very hard to, yeah,
Yeah.
let's
So
make
in
some.
North America, we call it color by department or color by discipline, and it is hugely popular. And mostly because they wanted to differentiate, like you knew that that person was supposed to be in that area of the hospital, or right. So okay, radiology because they're wearing purple, right? And so
Yeah,
that
in the,
it makes sense, right? It's not just a fun way to sell different colors, but yeah, and then there's upscale scrubs, right? Speaking of upscale versus comfort, right? We have these brands that really charge 2 or 3 times as much as a commodity scrub, and it's become big business to sell. And I think those are probably more sold to the individual healthcare practitioner than they are to the hospital, right? But,
Correct.
yeah. So, Aileen will like my topic. We had 2 interesting things happen via the NAUMD network recently. One is Aileen wrote an article on it. Is that we've become aware that one of our board members, Natalie Wilson, was chairing a committee at the British Standards Institute. I believe I'm getting it right, BSI. And they came up with a specification for PPE, right? This is not a law, right? This is like in the US, if you looked at our ANSI, ANSI standards, and other volunteer organizations where we try to seek compliance among industry members without dictating it by law. But it's usually there's a healthy combination between the two. But anyway, so that was very interesting to see that standard come out, and we're trying to promote it, here in North America as well, for people to take a look at that standard and say, okay, yeah, this is a good approach. And then, and a lot of what it talks about is inclusivity, like how do we size for women? How do we size, for the outliers of fit.
Body types.
Yeah, body types. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, interestingly, we just did a talk with Amy Rusa, who is in the safety industry, working at companies. So we consider her an end user, but she started an organization called the Safety Rack, and she did a survey of 500 working women across the planet, and then published the results last year. She's trying to raise a couple of $1 million to then build out a lot more infrastructure behind her organization to do even more research and work with manufacturers to improve inclusivity and fit and everything. And so we had her come and talk with the network, and we had some great big companies that sent their fit people, their merchandisers, their so that was a very interesting discussion, hearing what people, most manufacturers are proud or eager to share, hey, here's what we're doing to try to to not, what Amy taught me the phrase, and maybe it was out there already, to not just pink and shrink items, right? Meaning we'll make it a different color and we'll make it slightly smaller, and then we'll call that the women's size. So it's a massive topic. Aileen's written about it. Leslie's been active, in areas of this. But I thought it was interesting that there was this convergence where I just happened to schedule this talk with the network at the same time that Aileen covered the BSI initiative. So I wanted to mention both of those.
Well, I think it's a worldwide trend. I mean, we shouldn't call it a trend because it's just a way of thinking that we were just changing. And as she said, and as I wrote in the column, is that she did this for the UK, but other European countries are looking at it. And she's also talking with some people in Africa. And I think this is very good. And not only for the companies and people who are working at those companies who are wearing the PPE, but it's also a broader, more, let's say, a sign to the whole, to the all the people, also the people who are not working, because from what I see and what I've heard from the last years is that a lot of women don't even know that there is clothes that are made for their body. And in the Netherlands, I once wrote an article about some hardware shops here who are selling workwear for people who just like to use it for in let's say not for their work, but when they're just doing something at their house or garden. And all those hardware shops are selling only for men. They say, well, women don't ask questions. You just call it unisex. And I called all those companies and they thought it was a weird question to ask, why don't you sell workwear for women? But it's like, it's a whole system we're in. If you don't know it exists, you won't ask. So if there is a new rule and all the companies need to follow the rule, even though it's a rule, not a law, you all know it becomes famous. It's become, you know, and that will also change the way that just stores like hardware stores change what they selling. So I think it's not only, it's just like it's a bigger change than only for the companies who are involved. That's what.
Very interesting. Yes, that's a really good point. Yes.
As a society, we still think that women need to fit in certain clothes for such a long time. But we always say that is because men did those jobs. But that is something from, let's say, the 40, 60 years ago. But before that time, women also did their jobs. But workwear didn't exist at those times.
Right.
So if we're going way back, it's just that I think we just need to change our minds, and we need to change the mind of the society when it comes to protection for women. We don't need just pepper spray. We also need safety clothes.
Leslie?
So I'm seeing a positive trend towards it, because when you look at the big companies, I didn't go this year, but last year, the last time I went to the safety show in the United States, you could see all the big players. We're talking, you know, PIP, Bulwark, which is a division of Workwear Outfitters, Carhartt, the whole gamut, Burn.
This is the National Safety Council's
Safety Apparel, yes, show.
Okay.
It's the biggest safety trade show in North America.
Yep.
Every single one showcased a female option, right? And you can see that trend in their assortments as well. More offerings are coming out. Granted, it's not to the standard that it should be, but to me, I'm seeing progress in that. Whereas years ago, when I started out, you would never see that. All I would hear was, oh, women's, it's like less than 10% of the total business, if that, right?
Yes.
Oh, so we can't waste our time on it. But the problem is, as a company, if you're outfitting everyone, that percentage comes into play. And the percentage, I think, is much more than what they always said it was. It was because, to Eileen's point, we were wearing men's fit, right?
But
and we might not,
competition between companies, that if you are a company and you have a collection of workwear and you sell it to an organization, you say, okay, women and men can look the same, but they have a different fit. People will be happy. But I agree with you. I saw this changing. I think that was now 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I gave a presentation at organization where more workwear companies were involved, and I gave this presentation about women's workwear. And this was a room, I think there were 20 or 30 CEOs from workwear companies, and there was one female CEO. All the rest were men.
Wow.
It was also the only one who was making workwear for women for a long time. And when I talked about the importance of women's workwear, all those men were just laughing a little bit, like, yeah, but it's difficult, you know, it's women are always complaining. And then she said, well, I think you have a problem within your company, because we can make a fit that is good for women, And by the way, I have also pants are still for many years in my closet from that company. It is a good fit. And especially for me as a curvy woman, I can see when the fit is really good. And now you see that people are changing in this way, because at that time they were laughing, they were saying things like, oh, women are difficult. That's the same when you look, we're talking about formal wear before. That's the same with suits for women. Of course it's very hard. Of course women have all those different shapes and sizes, but if you look, for example, at the company Mascot. Do you know that company?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
They have they call it the pearl or the diamond shape. These are two different shapes for women, specially made for women.
Nice.
So I can understand that, of course, women have different bodies, but at this moment with the competition, you don't have a choice, in my opinion.
Agreed. To include it, absolutely, and it should be. I just,
Yeah, and that is, I had to laugh so hard when the woman said, well, that's a problem from your company, that you're having a hard time because we aren't. And that's also, I think, a good way to approach it. Like, see it as something that is, you need just to take some effort and you need to dive into the topic, but it's not like it's impossible or something. You can. But I'm not a designer, by the way, so.
Right. Well, awareness is a key factor. I was talking with a group of manufacturers and distributors this week. We had some director level meetings. And when this topic was discussed, they're like, yeah, I was at a show recently, or, talking with departments. This was public safety. They're like, yeah, they're just not even aware that the product is out there. They're like, yeah, no one told us that, that this was all available.
Shocking. Wow.
Yeah. But they may have been, who knows, maybe they were talking to people too high up, right? If they're talking to chiefs, maybe the chiefs don't know, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
People sometimes aren't even aware that this is a topic.
Yes.
When I dived into the hardware stores, I called some companies, and also the companies who made the workwear that they are selling there, not only, let's say, the hardware stores itself. And I called a Belgian company and I said, can I talk to someone about measurement? And then the lady on the phone said, what is your question? And I explained it, and she said, well, we have important things to do.
Wow.
So, and I was like, okay, I write this down in my article. That what they were thinking. And they were so ashamed when I published the article on LinkedIn. There was, oh my gosh.
Oops. Wow, you are a change agent, Aileen Out. So what's your second topic of the day? Oh, wait, what? It's Leslie's turn? Okay.
Yeah, my turn, but that's okay. So my second topic, I changed up. So yesterday I attended a roundtable, shall I say, with you, Rick, on workwear. And one of the things that came up, I was aware, but I guess I wasn't as aware as I probably should have been. And I'm sure Europe is steps ahead of us. It's EPR. Sorry, I'm from New England, so sometimes we drop that. It's called Extended Producer Responsibility, which has to do with the packaging of apparel. Think poly bag, hang tags, like garment labels, everything to do with shipping in that sense. And there are new laws by state that are coming up, really putting some responsibility back on the manufacturers and things like that to be much more responsible, because these are the things that end up in landfills and they're not biodegradable, definitely, unless, it has CCLO in it, which is a whole other subject. Maybe we talk another time. And it's really interesting to me because it really pushes the whole life cycle management that, everyone's always quick to market. Here's the latest, greatest. But what happens when it's the end? Like, what do we do with all the latest and greatest? Because there is an end of life. And I'm not too sure of where this is going to go in the future. but it's an important thing for every manufacturer and or distributor to really realize and think that we have to not only think of the apparel, we have to think of how we're packaging it, because that just adds more to landfills, and it's a sustainable conversation. So, and I know Europe is probably much more further ahead. So Aileen, I'd love your thoughts on that, as well as Rick. I know we were in the conversation, and I think we need to talk about it more. Not right, I meant in general as an industry.
What was your? I don't know if I can.
So
answer
it's
your-
about packaging. So I guess do you have in Europe especially, are laws in place to really kind of put onus on the manufacturer to use recycled or use this or that, so that it's, the little tidbits that go on a product?
Well, not specifically for packaging, but when you're talking about sustainability, I know for many, many years now, that's not something recently, that, for example, if you are, let's say, make a uniform for a government, you need to, there are some rules when it comes to sustainability. But I thought when the time was when I was working at the government, it was more like a percentage. So sustainability is, let's say, a normal part, but it doesn't mean that you need specifically for packaging.
Okay.
It's more, let's say, for the whole thing. But I know, for example, in the Netherlands, we talked about this earlier, that that a lot of people go on a bicycle, and that is also happening when it comes to delivering packages. And there's also a company that is now sending workwear through with the bicycle, and that you can also, I think, the boxes is you can bring them back. So they're working on it, yeah. But I didn't think that there was a specific law or something. But maybe
Okay.
I'm up to date with that.
Because we're seeing new legislation, go into place, just to kind of mandate that there, needs to be at least steps forward to be more sustainable when you're packaging a garment.
So here, while we were chatting, I had my good friend ChatGPT. I don't know if you've ever.
I know it's a good friend. It's a good friend.
But so she quickly gave me the extended producer responsibility program, where manufacturers, brand owners, importers, and those selling packaged goods. And so in California, it's SB 54. It's part of the Plastic Pollution and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act. Say that, 10 times fast as a vocal warm-up.
There's so much.
So, and what it's saying is that for single-use plastic packaging specifically, right? So these aren't the reusable water, cups and stuff like that. For single use, by 2032, a 25% source reduction is the target, and a 65% of single-use plastic packaging must be recycled. So there's an obligation. There's when it comes to sustainability, of course, there's a relationship between governance and just acting as a good corporate citizen. But so what the speaker at yesterday's directors session that Leslie and I were at for Workwear at the NAUMD, we have multiple network groups, and there are directors of those groups, and then we meet throughout the year to discuss what's going on and determine NAUMD programming and education activities. So this came up in that session, and specifically because California and the whole transparency movement is extremely interesting. And this particular company, which was a very large company, they have an entire department that just has to deal with and keep up with, all of the compliance, legal ramifications of everything that they're doing. And, when you're selling in, we had 3 companies on that call, Leslie, that are selling in at least 40 countries, each of them.
Yes, that's so true. There were some people. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. So those,
Know what the rules are, but if you are in the US, don't you divide your trash? Let's say that you have plastic, you have paper, you have glass. That is
yes,
also a way of recycling,
Mhm.
right?
yes, but not all plastics and not all glass are recyclable. So you have to target, that this is plastic in our packaging, that by 2032, 65% of the bags that we're using, will be recyclable
Well, for
and
us,
must be recycled.
the Netherlands, it's like everyone has this bag for plastic and everyone has this bag for paper and so on. So
Yeah.
companies do the same. So I don't know if everything can be recycled, but we deliver it for a special plastic container that
Yeah.
will recycle it. So
Very interesting.
yeah, system.
So
It's
it's
just
mostly a reporting,
It is.
law to start with, right? I don't know that it has teeth beyond you just have to report.
It's
But
just to
that's
be
the way,
aware.
yeah, that's the way it evolves, at least here in North America,
And as
right?
these generations are coming up, like Z, because I have a couple in my house,
Yes.
they are very aware. Well, it
Yeah.
depends also where you live and whatnot, but
Yeah.
they are very aware. They're learning this is in school. It's like it's an important topic.
Very
And in difference from when I was growing up, not to give myself any shade here, but it was the last thing on my mind.
Yes.
But
But
for me,
they are very involved, and I'm very, I love it.
but for me too, I'm a millennial, and I didn't think about the environment at all. So it's really the new generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it really is. So
And
I
water.
just
We
brought it
didn't
up.
drink
It was
any
interesting.
water growing up, Leslie, right? We didn't drink water. It's like, I would have one glass of water at dinner. That was the extent of the
That
water
was
that I
it.
drank.
And I drank it from the faucet or the garden
Right,
hose.
or the hose outside. That's
Oh, the hose outside. I don't know
the
what's wrong
meme
with
that goes around, because mom said, get out of the house and don't come back till dinner time. Right? It's like,
Yeah, pretty much. I'm an X, so
yeah,
Generation X.
yeah. I'm the last year of boomer.
Your last year boomer.
Oh my God! So we do have different generations here.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
technically, yeah.
Yeah, but I consider you more the other. I don't consider.
I'm an X. I mean, you can
But
see
what
just looking at me.
generation are you, Leslie?
What's that?
What generation are you?
Generation X.
Ah, so we have three. Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Yes,
three.
we
That's
do.
good. We didn't really notice that
We
until.
talked about that. Yes.
Yeah. So, Aileen, what do you got
Yeah,
for us?
I have my second topic. Well, as I said, we talked about airline uniforms before, and I said that when they're launching a new uniform, sneakers are, let's say, normal these days. But what I saw in last weeks is that now World to Fly, an airline, launched a new uniform, but with barefoot shoes.
What is a barefoot shoe?
Yeah, I need to check that also. So that is a shoe that is designed to, when you're wearing it, you wouldn't feel, that is the idea behind it, that you're wearing a shoe. So you have no heel, you have a wide fit, you have extra room for your toes, it's flexible and it's lightweight. And I was like, when I was reading this, I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, because when you're wearing this, I found out, I got dive deeper into it, your whole body needs to, let's say, get used to this change. Your feet as well, because it's not a normal shoe. Because when you're normally working, you need just extra supportive shoe. It's
I
very
was just going to
important.
ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they introduced this for the cabin crew, and it looks like from the outside a normal black sneaker, but it is not. And I was like, I was just Googling and searching for it. And I was like, I think this is the first company. But have you heard about this before? I was curious.
I haven't.
Okay.
No, there's lots of technology, of course, related to footwear, and
Gosh,
lots of ways. So, at first I'm like, well, that's a pretty unique marketing, lens that they're putting on their technology, calling it what did you call it? The naked
Barefoot, a barefoot shoe.
Barefoot shoe. Yes, that's better than
Barefoot
using the word
shoe.
naked.
Yeah.
The barefoot
Yeah.
shoe. And I was picturing a sandal or it's like,
No, it's
but-
just, it looks like a sneaker.
yeah. So it's very, it's very interesting that they're billing it as just, you're wide open, right? And I wonder, I mean, I assume, and airlines especially do wear tests, right?
Yeah.
And have team members wear them and give them feedback before they roll it out to, 200,000 employees, depending on the size of your airline.
So, I mean, we have also Delta Airlines recently, the whole lawsuit. Finally, it's finally we're done with it. But there are also a lot of lawsuits with uniforms, what they also do tests. So I not, let's say, trust completely on tests. But I also think that for most people, a barefoot shoe, we're not used to it. Your body needs to used to it. So you will have some pain. That's what I wrote. You will have some pain. You will have some discomfort before your body is used to it. But when you're not working and you're wearing your own shoes,
I was just going to add that too.
that is also needs to change, So I don't think that's a good thing, a barefoot shoe.
Well, honestly, I don't know enough about the technology to have a judgment. I can't just say based on that marketing description of it, whether it's a good thing or not. And I 100% disagree with your thinking about wear testing and lawsuits. Without wear testing, we really have that is the best way to test our products. And
yeah, of course, but
for issuing millions of products into the workwear, space, the number of lawsuits compared to the amount of product in our stream is basically 0%, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I think it's a very valid way to test.
What I just wanted to say is that a test isn't a guarantee.
Of course not. Sure.
Successful launch of a product.
Yeah.
And I think especially something that, let's say, almost nobody wears. I mean, we're in a modern world with good shoes and good support on our feet. I think that you can do a test, but there will also be a lot of people with pain. I mean, you can go for heels and then you will have pain, but I think barefoot shoes are also a problem. I think you need really good support for your feet when you're working in an environment where you need to stand up for such a long time. And it's not only that these people wear this when they're working on a flight, but also traveling. That's also something you need to consider.
Leslie, anything else on this one?
No, I just feel that my whole feeling on footwear, especially if you're going to be on your feet all day, you really need support and anti-fatigue, things like that. Mm-hmm. The technology has, like, in footwear is like through the roof. So I guess I don't understand the whole going backwards with nothing.
Yeah.
That's my whole take on it.
Yeah, if that's what they're doing, that's wrong. I would want to know more about what the technology
I don't
is
know
doing,
the details.
Right? If it just feels like you're barefoot, but it still offers all of that support, then wonderful.
Then that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
We can keep talking about this because it 100% ties into my last topic. And
how do we do this all the time?
And circles right back to the first topic, in essence, of formal wear and of what you've been discussing about airlines, because this came up at a different directors group meeting this week. It came up in another one. So the whole concept of tradition versus comfort. Okay, so there's these classic brands in our industry. There's classic workwear brands. There's classic, scrub brands. There's classic public safety brands, right? And is that brand, so there's two parts to this. Is that brand obligated to keep it exactly the same, right? Because of tradition, versus can they start to design for what the next generation of buyers is seeking, which is what Aileen's talking about, which is 100% based on comfort, right? Or potentially 100% based on comfort. Certainly the next generation is far more interested in comfort. The whole movement in public safety, where it used to be a law enforcement professional might walk around with something during the day that looked a lot more like a Class A, nice uniform, tailored, all of that. Now it's like they're, practically, ready to go to war, right? And they're in these comfortable
Right.
things
My goodness. Yes.
yeah, and they're very comfortable, comfortable and ripstop material, and it's not this formal. And then does that relate also then to what we were just discussing in hospitality? Like, far more used to wear blazers and ties, and formal wear would be, oh, I'm opening a fine dining restaurant. Of course, we're going to wear suits and ties. And then so it's all just moved to comfort, or even fast food, to go from button down shirts with some type of neckwear to now t-shirts. It's not even just polos. For a while it was polos, and now
Almost, now it's
now it's
yeah.
a t-shirt with two colors of ink on it, and that's it. And that's so the whole concept of does tradition matter as much in our industry? That's the question.
I have two
that
thoughts. Oh, sorry, Aileen, you can go.
No, you can go.
So my first thought is, you can do both. There is, as we all know, through the world, things come back around, right? That, yes, everything's super casual right now. That could change, but even when it changes for the good, in a sense of you'll dress differently, but it'll feel casual, like it'll have different technology. So like those companies, you can keep tradition, and what you can do is aesthetically keep it, but even just kind of shoot in some technology to it, like adjust your fit, do things like that, but don't like scare off the people that always wore that particular style. I feel like you can balance tradition and new. That's what makes your assortment much more interesting. Just my merchandising take.
That would be the holy grail. So it's a traditional law enforcement, but now we've added four-way stretch.
Exactly. Like, and it still aesthetically could look the same. It's just extremely, comfort and things like that.
But I think I totally agree. It's just the technology that's going so fast.
It is.
Also with things like AI, and nanotechnology, they can all integrate into your clothes, which means that you can look the same, but you feel different, and there are different things happening. So yeah, I think that it's a good thing. You can still have tradition, and there will still be. It also depends on the environment, of course. I know that when I was at the beginning of this year hired for the Dutch military, they wanted to have a new dress suit, and they still say we want some, let's say, traditional elements, but we also want to change it. And in that case, it was for the women, for their dress suit. And they wanted to have, of course, a better fit. But for a better fit, when it has to feel good, you need better materials. So you can add some traditional elements. And of course, when you're talking about the military, you have all these signs and things, all those golden details that all mean something. So you can always add that. And you can always change the way, it feels, but still have the same color, or, kind of the same, uniform, or the same look. So I think, I agree with you, Leslie. You can do both.
You can. What's interesting is some of the discussion was surrounded also the idea that younger generations are not as brand loyal. They're not as brand loyal to their companies they work for, and they're not as brand loyal to the purchases that they make. And is it the Amazonification, right, of our purchasing habits? Like we just picture, hey, there's just an unlimited amount of product out there, so I'm just going to pick what feels right. I don't care what
I like. Exactly. There is no brand loyalty in the age.
But I also have to say that I know that a lot of people think that the new generation doesn't like, let's say, formal wear or formal clothes. It was a couple of years ago, they did a survey and they found out that if you ask the new generation, do you want to work at this job, which you really like, but you need to wear, let's say, a suit, they do. If they really like the job, they do. And you mentioned, let's say, fast food. I thought it was McDonald's a couple of years ago in Britain, in England, and they changed their whole uniform, and it was so casual that, as you said, it was all t-shirts, it was hoodies, and the people who are wearing who are working there were like, we don't want to wear it. It was too casual. They really said that was the younger generation. They really said, I don't want to wear those clothes doesn't look even like workwear. It just looks like your natural clothes that you're wearing when you're out and about, So
like Leslie was saying, the pendulum, swings back and forth.
It does turn.
Going too far, right?
I'll probably be dead when it turns, but I'll come back and make my statement. I'll say, I said it was coming back.
Yeah, but when it comes to fashion, it's back and forth, and
it is. There's
workwear.
Nothing really new, right? And anybody that says something's new, the only thing new is technology. Really.
Ooh,
that's true.
Rough.
I totally agree.
There really isn't from a fashion standpoint. It's just a rinse, repeat, and say it's new.
Yeah, and that's the same. I mean, I like to wear suspenders and ties. My suspenders.
Nice. Oh, fun. Did not know.
Yeah, I wear them almost every day, suspenders, because I hate belts. And I started wearing them a couple of years ago for an experiment, for an article. And since then, I'm only buying more and more suspenders because it's really comfortable. And
making a comeback.
Yeah, I don't know if they're coming back. And some people say, oh, it's like your statement piece. But no, for me, it is comfort. I just hate wearing belts. But you can see that the way people respond to me is also changing. Now they're more like, oh, it's you're a unique style. Well, in the beginning, that's like, oh, this is a really masculine thing. And I was like, why is it masculine? That's the same with tie. Why is a tie a masculine thing?
100% agreed. It shouldn't be.
But now
tradition. That's what we're talking about. And Aileen, you're saying, yeah, let's blow that tradition away.
Yeah, but a couple of years ago, we were different than now. Now we are very aware of gender, So now we're just saying, oh, it's like your style.
Yes.
And not like you're looking masculine. Well, I don't care. I'm just wearing it either. But it's interesting to see how people view things different.
It's the Diane Keaton effect.
I was just thinking that too, Leslie.
Huge fan.
Annie Hall,
devastating when she passed. But she took the suit, and when no one was doing it, and she kept true to herself.
Yeah,
just love her.
She's an icon, and she looked fabulous.
Always,
but she's a movie star.
She just recently passed. With devastating.
All right, so we dedicate this episode to Diane Keaton and women wearing suspenders and straight neckwear.
That's true, because she wore them all.
All right, thank you. Great episode. Love it.
Thank you. This was good.
Okay, I'm gonna.
You need to cut.